Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. My name is Jared, and today I've got something pretty cool for you guys. This is the Spyderco Magnitude, and we are going to be jumping right into a full review because I've had plenty of time to get to know this knife. Now, just a quick little disclaimer about this knife. This knife is a personal grail knife. I've been looking for this for a very long time, and with the current state of affairs with certain things, it is now a buyer's market. There are a lot of people that are just selling. And if you're able to, if you have any disposable income and you want to buy yourself a knife, now would definitely be a good time because the prices are very good right now for the secondary market, that is. Okay, so let's just do some quick size comparisons because this is a chunky biscuit, guys. So when I saw this online, I thought that it was going to be a lot bigger than what it really is. Now, I'm not saying that it's small by any means, but I did think that it was going to be much bigger. For example, this is the PM2, and the Magnitude compared to the PM2, it's not that much bigger. It's noticeably thicker and heavier, but just size-wise, it's really not that much bigger. This is the Para 3, and then last but not least, the Benchmade 940. So this knife is discontinued. I believe that it came out in 2016, 2015. And if you couldn't tell, it is a Peter Carey design, and you can definitely see that in just every aspect of the blade, especially the blade. I mean, the hollow ground with the swedge to a very stout tip that is very, very Peter Carey. That rhymed, and that was kind of scary. Okay, we're done with that. Anyways, let's just get into the stats. Okay, so we have 8.22 total inches with a handle length of 4.72. We have a blade length of 3.5 inches with a cutting edge length of 3.35 inches. We have a blade stock thickness of a lot. It's very, very thick. It's 157 thousandths of an inch, and the weight for this guy is 5.3 ounces, which traditionally speaking would be on the heavy side. But if you consider just the amount of real estate that this is taking up in your pocket and just like the amount of space in general, 5.3 ounces is actually very light for this a knife of this bulkiness, if you will. And that's partially due to because of the skeletonized titanium liners. But more into that in a minute. Now, this is a right hand only, tip up only carry. Yes, it's very specific. You know, it is what it is. It's probably going to bother a lot of lefties, but you know, I don't know why they couldn't just put holes on that side just to include. And I'm sure it wouldn't be that difficult to put the holes on that side, but at the same time, it's like, if I were left-handed, it's like, why should I have to modify my knife just to simply put it in the side that I would like to carry it on? But anyways, moving back on to some of the more objective stats. So we have a liner lock here, and we are also running on bearings. Now, the finish on the blade, fit and finish time, finish on the blade is freaking amazing. I mean, one of the things that I absolutely love about any of the knives that are made in Taichung, Taiwan, are the more grainy grind lines that they leave on the blade. I think they use like a 120 belt, and I want to say that like in Golden, Colorado, I think it's maybe like a 400 or 600. But I really like how you can see these grain patterns. It just adds a nice little offsetting element to the knife, and just the grinds on this steel is just so nice. I really, really love it. The carbon fiber, I mean, just this is just a pretty knife in general. It's very different for a Spyderco, but just look at with the scales, right? So we have full carbon fiber scales, slightly contoured, with a G10 back spacer and a G10 pivot collar. Not a big fan of the brown color, but that's not a big deal. It's just a very, very different looking knife, but it's also just very nice to look at. Really, really spectacular. Now let's talk about the blade geometry for a second. So we have a hollow grind here, and this is the first Yes, this is the first hollow grind Spyderco that I have, and we have a swedge that, so like this is the original blade stock, right, at 157 thousandths, and then we go to a swedge that kind of trails down to a point right there, and it's a very, very beefy tip. It's actually very similar to the 940, very, very similar there. But unlike the 940, we are hollow ground, meaning that we have a very, very steep, we make a much finer apex. The thickness behind the edge in the center here, when I measured it before I sharpened it, was 17 thousandths of an inch behind the edge in the center here. Now, obviously, it's thicker at the tip and at the heel, but we are very, very paper thin right there. And yeah, that's going to be very, very nice. Excellent performance. Love hollow grinds. Now let's get to the elephant in the room for those diehard Spyderco fanboys such as myself, and maybe the experienced knife makers or those that are just familiar with Spyderco flippers in general. Let's talk about the action. So we'll be objective first. This is a Spyderco front flipping knife that's running on bearings. So what does that mean? That means that, like all Spyderco front flipper knives, our detent is softer than puppy shit. I mean, look at that. It's just, it is what it is. It's not that hard to fix. It can be modified, or you can just be a little bit more aggressive with your flipping. A lot of people think that it's a safety issue. I mean, yes, you can open this knife without flipping it. I mean, you just kind of whip it back. But, I don't really ever see a time where that's going to, come into a realistic, where that can be a realistic concern. But I do see how that could bother some people. Just the fact that your knife is able to do that, you never know. You just never know sometimes. And why risk something like that, I suppose. But for me personally, that doesn't bother me. Okay. So that was all the objective stuff. Let's get into the subjective stuff. So we're going to start with the ergonomics. I love the ergonomics on this, like every other Spyderco. They have phenomenal ergos. This one is very, very different because if you notice how much girth this has right here, it really, really fills up the hand. And it doesn't leave anything to be desired at any point. There's zero hot spots, and the jimping here is just right. I mean, it's much, much thicker than what I'm conventionally used to. But it just feels great, and I have enough cutout area down here for the finger toe just to manipulate the knife in any way that I see fit. It's very, very good, and you actually get a little bit of added grip down here too with the. It's not quite as sharp as the Rubicon, which is another Peter Carey design by Spyderco that almost looks identical to this. But they have like orange G10, and we're also we have polished carbon fiber, and the blade's a little bit chodier. So the aesthetics, yes, I think visually speaking, this was what drew me to this knife initially. I knew that it was a front flipping Spyderco. I knew that it was going to have issues like that. But it's just visually speaking, you don't see many Spydercos that look like this. Point in case, look at the pocket clip. All right, I mean the thickness of Spydercos traditionally are going to be much thinner in the handle than this. This almost feels like I want to compare it to like a no, because even like a 0562 zero tolerance would be it just feels very different than Spydercos. It really does. The carry, I mean, the carry is like a 0 out of 10. Like, it's just, it really is. Like, I'm right-handed and I prefer tip up. So for me, I'm very lucky in this case. But at the same time, look how much real estate that is. I mean, we're going to be taking up a tremendous amount of just space. Okay. So like, it actually looks like it is thinner than the PM2 marginally, but I mean, you're going to notice this, and so is everybody else around you. It's like, hey, bro, is that a magnitude in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? It's like, sorry, dude. It's just a really fucking chonky-ass knife. But I feel like that kind of goes along with the like it kind of just comes with it. It's part of it. People aren't going to buy this knife because it is like an economical, like, you know, space saving, you know, it's not going to be like a light carry. Okay. Like that's not it. Like, this knife has a purpose, and though how you use your knives is highly subjective, I think everyone would agree that this is not like a light use, like a gentleman's carry and like a, you know, tighter pair of slacks type of thing. I mean, you do what you want with your knife at the end of the day. I always say that it's your knife, your money, your rules. But I think this is off the table for a lightweight carry option. So let's talk about the value, and then I'll wrap things up with my opinion on it. The value is zero. There really is no. So this knife, at the time it was released, I believe it was $200 back in 2016 or 2017. Now, a brand new one of these, you know, it's secondary market prices, so they vary so much. $250 to $500. And this is based off of what I've seen them sold for. This was like new in box, and it really was like new in box, because when I took it apart, it had the traditional 14 pounds of Loctite in there. There was so much Loctite. But I understand why they did that, because with bearings, you don't want to over tighten the bearings, because, you know, it's gonna do really nasty things to this. Anyways, are there better options for the $250 to $500 price range? Absolutely. I mean, let's also not forget we're S30V steel, right? You know, there are tons of better steel options at this price point. There are tons of better fit and finish options and just performance options at this price point. In fact, I would go as far to say that, like, in terms of what we have on paper alone, right? The G10, or I mean the full carbon fiber contoured scales with the titanium skeletonized liners, the S30V blade steel, and just the performance overall, I would say $200 is just about right, and that's in 2022 prices. This was $200, listed at $200 when it came out in 2016. Now, the fact that these are selling for around $200 more than that, $450, $350, $500 range, brand new, I mean, it's worth however much somebody's willing to pay for it. And for me personally, since this knife is no longer available, and it's unique and it's just different, and I really enjoy it, to me, the price is worth it. And I guess we can kind of use that as a segue to wrap things up about the opinion on this. Like I said, this is a grail knife of mine, so right off the bat, you guys are already going to know that I'm very biased towards this knife. And, you know, it carries like shit. It flips like shit. The price is absolutely, there's no value in it, but I love it. It's great. And that's the best part about opinion. Like, it doesn't have to all be good on paper for me to have a positive opinion about it. It's just, it's a knife that's, I don't know how practical it's going to be, and I don't really want to figure out. I want to keep it nice and pretty like this. This is going to not necessarily be a safe queen, but, you know, since they don't make it anymore, and since I paid a little bit more for it, then I think I'm just going to keep it as a nice little grail knife for now. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you on the next one.